The transport ship touched down on forward base Arcturus with a hiss of hydraulics and burning dust. Corporal Hana Lee stepped onto alien soil for the first time, her boots crunching against the red-orange ground of a world she couldn't even pronounce. Around her, 200 human soldiers filed out of the ship, their faces tight with nervousness and excitement. They were the first humans to join a war that had been raging for 30 years before Earth even knew aliens existed. Hana adjusted the rifle case on her shoulder and scanned the base. It was massive. Structures made of materials that seemed to grow from the ground itself, stretched across the horizon. Ships of designs she'd never seen hung in the sky like metal birds. And everywhere, aliens. Insects the size of trucks, with gleaming carapaces. Beings made of living crystal that refracted light into rainbows. Amphibious creatures that moved with liquid grace. None of them human. "Stay together," Captain Yuri Nam called out, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Don't stare. Don't touch anything. And for God's sake, don't start any fights." Hana fell into formation with her unit. She caught aliens staring at them. Not with curiosity. With something else. Contempt, maybe. Or pity. She'd seen that look before, back on Earth, when she'd walked into the shooting range as a 19-year-old woman and told them she wanted to be a sniper. They'd laughed then, too. The human regiment was herded into a briefing hall that could have held 5,000 soldiers. Only a fraction of the seats were filled. War Master Threx stood at the center podium, his insectoid body gleaming under harsh lights. He was Chitara, one of the warrior species that formed the backbone of the coalition forces. His mandibles clicked as he spoke, the translator rendering his words into flat, mechanical English. "You are humans," Threx began, his compound eyes reflecting the lights like black mirrors. "Your species has been admitted to the coalition due to political necessity, not military merit. Your bodies are weak, your lifespans are short, your technology is primitive. You have no natural armor, no venom, no psionic abilities. You are, by all measures, the most fragile species to ever request frontline deployment." Hana felt her jaw tighten. Around her, other soldiers shifted uncomfortably. "However," Threx continued, "the Coalition Senate has mandated your inclusion. Therefore, you will be assigned to rear supply protection. You will guard convoys. You will maintain equipment. You will not engage in direct combat unless absolutely necessary. This is not an insult. This is reality. Soft skins break like larvae under pressure." A Luminar officer, her crystalline body pulsing with soft blue light, leaned toward Threx and whispered something. The War Master waved a bladed appendage dismissively. "Lieutenant Kiva believes I am being too harsh," Threx said. "She believes humans may have hidden potential. I believe in evidence, not hope." Dismissed. The briefing ended. The humans filed out in silence. Hana noticed Captain Yuri's hands were clenched into fists. 3 days passed. 3 days of guard duty at supply depots. 3 days of watching alien soldiers march past them toward the front lines. 3 days of whispers and sideways glances. Hana spent her free time maintaining her rifle, a modified railgun that Earth's engineers had adapted from coalition technology. It was her own design, incorporating predictive targeting systems that could calculate wind, gravity, and projectile drop in milliseconds. She'd won 5 planetary championships with earlier versions. This one was better. "You really think you'll get to use that?" Jiho Park asked. He was her spotter, a stocky man with quick eyes and a quicker smile. "Threx wants us counting boxes, not shooting Vaxir." "I didn't come here to count boxes," Hana said quietly. On the 4th day, alarms shattered the morning calm. Hana was cleaning her rifle when the base-wide alert screamed through every speaker. Red lights flooded the barracks. Soldiers ran past, shouting in languages she didn't understand. She grabbed her gear and sprinted outside. Jiho was already there, his spotting equipment slung over his shoulder. "What's happening?" Hana demanded. "Vaxir," Jiho said, his face pale. They hit the eastern defensive line. Breakthrough. Coalition forces are falling back. Captain Yuri appeared, his rifle in hand. Listen up. Rear guard protocol. We hold the supply routes. Do not, under any circumstances, move toward the combat zone. That's an order. But orders changed fast in war. Within an hour, the retreat became a rout. Hana watched from the supply depot as coalition soldiers streamed back from the front lines. They were bleeding, broken, desperate. The Vaxier were pushing hard, exploiting a gap in the defensive perimeter. She heard fragments of panicked communications over the open channels. Ridge 7 is lost. Need reinforcements at Karthus Valley. Where are the reserves? Then, War Master Threx's voice cut through the chaos. All available units to defensive positions. I repeat, all available units. Captain Yuri looked at his soldiers. His face was stone. You heard him. Mount up. They moved fast. The human regiment loaded into transport vehicles and raced toward Ridge 7. Hana felt her heart hammering against her ribs. This wasn't a shooting range. This wasn't a simulation. This was real. People were dying. And she was about to join them. Ridge 7 overlooked Karthus Valley, a wide expanse of broken rock and sparse vegetation. When Hana reached the ridge, she understood why the coalition was losing. Below them, advancing in perfect formation, was a Vaxier assault force. They were reptilian, scaled and armored, moving with military precision. 200 soldiers, maybe more, arranged in tight ranks behind mobile shield generators. Coalition forces were already on the ridge, desperately trying to set up defensive positions. A Chitara warrior saw the humans arrive and made a sound like grinding metal. Laughter. Hana realized. He was laughing at them, but there was no time for pride. Hana found a position with clear sight lines, dropped prone, and began setting up her rifle. Jiho slid in beside her, unpacking his range-finding equipment. Distance to target formation? Hana asked, her voice steady now. The fear was still there, but it was background noise. Her training took over. 3,200 meters, Jiho said. Wind, 14 kilometers per hour, west to east. Gravity here is 0.9, 3 standard. Hana's targeting computer whirred to life, overlaying data across her scope. She scanned the Vaxier formation, analyzing, calculating. They were packed tight, shields overlapping, a textbook assault formation designed to overwhelm defensive positions through concentrated firepower. But textbook formations had textbook weaknesses. There, in the center of the formation, command squad leaders carrying fusion power cores to energize the mobile shields. If one of those cores breached while active, the energy discharge would be catastrophic, and they were all within blast radius of each other. I have a shot, Hana said. On what? Jiho asked. Individual targets are too far for reliable. Not an individual target. The formation. Jiho went quiet. Then, Hana, that's insane. Watch me. She adjusted her scope, her breathing slowing. The rifle felt like an extension of her body. The targeting computer fed her probability calculations. Wind, gravity, armor penetration requirements, energy cascade potential. It all flowed through her mind like water. Across the ridge, alien soldiers watched the humans with barely concealed contempt. They were still waiting for the humans to prove themselves. Hana whispered to herself in Korean, words her grandmother had taught her. Let's show them what humans do. And her finger touched the trigger. The world narrowed to the scope, the target, the shot. She fired. The railgun round screamed across the valley at hypersonic speed. 3,200 meters in under 3 seconds. The round punched through armor, through flesh, through the fusion core casing. For a microsecond, nothing happened. Then the valley lit up like a newborn sun. The fusion core detonated. The energy wave consumed the command squad leader instantly. Then, It reached the next power core. And the next. Chain reaction. The Vaxier formation, so perfectly arranged for maximum combat efficiency, became a death trap. Explosions cascaded through their ranks, shields failed, armor melted, soldiers disappeared in bursts of light and heat. 4.7 seconds. That's how long it took. When the light faded, 187 Vaxier soldiers were gone. The valley floor was scorched black. The few survivors were running, their formation shattered beyond recovery. Silence fell across Ridge 7. Every alien soldier on the ridge turned to look at the human sniper position. Hana slowly lifted her eye from the scope. Her hands steady. Her heart thunder. War Master Threx's voice crackled over the command channel, stunned. What? What just happened? Lieutenant Kiva, the Luminar officer, responded. Her voice carried something Hana had never heard directed at a human before. Respect. The humans happened, War Master. The humans happened. The command center erupted in chaos. Officers from 4 different species crowded around holographic displays, rewinding the sensor data again and again. The numbers didn't lie. One shot. 187 confirmed kills. The Vaxier assault on Carthus Valley had collapsed completely. Ridge 7 held. And a human had done it. War Master Threx stood in front of the main display, his mandibles clicking rapidly. It was a sign of agitation, Hana would later learn. He demanded the combat footage be played a 5th time, then a 6th. The other officers watched in silence as the railgun round traced its path across the valley, as the fusion core erupted, as the perfectly disciplined Vaxier formation simply ceased to exist. Impossible, Threx finally said. No single soldier achieves this result. The weapon must be examined. The human must be tested. Lieutenant Kiva, her crystalline body pulsing with cool blue light, stepped forward. The weapon is standard-issue human railgun, with modifications approved by Coalition engineering standards. The shot itself was calculated based on targeting the fusion cores. It was strategy. War Master. Not luck. Strategy, Threx repeated, as if the word tasted wrong. Chitara warriors trained for decades to master battlefield awareness. On Ridge 7, Hana was still lying prone behind her rifle. She hadn't moved. Couldn't move. The magnitude of what she'd just done was sinking in slowly, like cold water filling her lungs. She'd killed nearly 200 soldiers, 200 lives. Yes, they were enemies. Yes, they would have killed her and everyone on this ridge, but still, 200. Jiho's hand touched her shoulder. Hana, hey, you need to breathe. She realized she'd been holding her breath. She gulped air, her hands starting to shake now that the adrenaline was fading. That was. Jiho couldn't finish the sentence. He just shook his head. Around them, the Coalition soldiers who'd laughed at the humans were quiet now. A Chitara warrior approached slowly. His blade-like appendages folded against his carapace in what Hana guessed was a gesture of respect. He spoke in clicking sounds, the translator rendering it into English. You fight without honor, the warrior said. No blade. No close combat. No warrior's duel. But you saved many lives today. This confuses me. Hana sat up slowly, wiping sweat from her face. I'm a sniper. I end fights before they begin. That's my job. The Chitara tilted his head, compound eyes studying her. Perhaps humans have their own honor. Perhaps I do not understand it yet. He turned and walked away. More Vaxier soldiers were advancing in the distance, but these were scattered, disorganized. Without their main assault force, they had no momentum. Coalition artillery began pounding their positions. The battle for Ridge 7 was over. Captain Yuri appeared, his face unreadable. Am I in trouble, sir? I honestly don't know. 3 hours later, Hana stood in the Coalition War Council chamber, still wearing her combat gear, still smelling of gunpowder and sweat. The chamber was enormous, designed to accommodate species of all sizes. At the center sat Supreme Commander Vorath, a torrent whose amphibious body seemed to flow more than sit. His skin was a deep green blue, and his eyes were ancient. "Corporal Hana Lee," Vorath said, his voice like water over stones. "Do you understand what you have accomplished? I took a shot, sir. It worked. You altered the course of this battle, possibly this entire campaign." Vorath gestured to the displays around them, showing the tactical situation. The Vaxir were pushing for a breakthrough here. If they had succeeded, they would have flanked our main defensive line. Thousands would have died. Multiple systems might have fallen. You prevented this. With one bullet. Hana swallowed hard. "I just saw the weakness in their formation, sir. The fusion cores were—" "We know what you saw," War Master Threx interrupted. "What I want to know is how a species with no military tradition, no warrior culture, no combat evolution, produces a soldier capable of battlefield analysis that rivals our finest strategists." All eyes turned to Hana. She felt small under their gaze. "I don't know about all that, sir. I see patterns. I always have. Numbers, shapes, possibilities. My instructors on Earth said it made me a good sniper. I can see how things connect." My crossed. Lieutenant Kiva's light pulsed brighter. "Pattern recognition. Humans process visual and tactical data differently than we do. Your brains are adapted for it. Evolutionary advantage from your hunter-gatherer origins." "Irrelevant," Threx snapped. "What matters is combat effectiveness. Chitara, view this kill as dishonorable." She struck from distance, without giving the enemy a chance to face her in battle. "And yet," Vorath said quietly, "our soldiers are alive. The ridge is held. The Vaxir are retreating. Tell me, War Master, which is more important? Honor or victory?" Threx had no answer to that. The meeting ended with Hana being dismissed but confined to base pending further evaluation. She walked back to the human barracks in a daze. News of the shot had spread. Human soldiers cheered when she entered. Some of the coalition soldiers saluted her. Others looked away, unwilling to acknowledge what had happened. That night, Hana sat alone in the mess hall, staring at a meal she couldn't eat. Jiho found her there. "You're famous," he said, sitting down across from her. "They're calling you the Ghost of Ridge 7. I don't want to be famous. I want to do my job. Your job just changed." Jiho leaned forward. "They're promoting Captain Yuri to Major. He's getting command of all human forces, and they're expanding those forces. Earth is sending 5 more regiments, because of what you did." Hana closed her eyes. "I just pulled a trigger, Jiho. No. You proved we belong here. Do you know how many species doubted us? How many thought humans were too weak, too fragile, too stupid to fight in a real war? You changed that. One shot changed everything." Over the next 2 days, Hana's life became a storm. She was interviewed by Coalition intelligence. She was examined by Luminar scientists who wanted to understand human cognition. She was challenged to combat assessments by Chitara warriors who needed to see if the shot was skill or luck. She passed every test, made every shot, and with each success, the whispers grew louder. Some said humans should be given command positions. Others said humans were dangerous, unpredictable weapons that couldn't be trusted. Factions formed in the Coalition Council. Arguments erupted in briefing rooms. All because a 24-year-old woman from Earth had done her job too well. War Master Threx found her on the 3rd day, in the training range. She was practicing, trying to find some normalcy in the chaos. He watched her shoot for several minutes before speaking. "You are skilled," he admitted. "This cannot be denied. But skill without wisdom is dangerous. You humans think differently than we do. This makes you unpredictable. Unpredictable soldiers get others killed." Hana lowered her rifle. "Respectfully, sir, predictable soldiers lose wars. The Vaxir are predictable. They use the same formations, the same tactics, the same strategies they've used for 30 years. And they're winning. Maybe unpredictable is exactly what the coalition needs. Threx's mandibles clicked. For a moment, Hana thought she'd gone too far. Then the War Master made a sound like grinding stone. Laughter. Perhaps you are right, human. Perhaps you are right. That evening, Major Yuri called a meeting of all human forces. 200 soldiers packed into the briefing room. Yuri stood before them, his uniform crisp, despite the dust and heat. Listen up, Yuri began. The coalition has been watching us, judging us, deciding if we're worth keeping around. Well, Corporal Lee answered that question, but it's not over. They still don't trust us. They still think we're weak. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be the best damn soldiers in this entire coalition. We're going to train harder, fight smarter, and we're going to prove that humans don't just belong in this war. We're going to prove we can help win it. We, the soldiers, roared approval. Hana felt something shift inside her. This wasn't about her anymore. It was about all of them. Every human who'd ever been called too weak, too primitive, too fragile. This was their chance to prove the galaxy wrong. 2 days later, Supreme Commander Vorath summoned Hana to his private office. The Torrent Commander sat in a pool of water, his massive form barely visible beneath the surface. You have created a problem for me, Corporal Lee, Vorath said. Half the coalition wants to promote you to hero status. The other half wants you expelled as a dangerous aberration. Both sides are wrong. You are simply a soldier. But you are a soldier who thinks differently, and that is valuable. Sir? Intelligence has confirmed the Vaxier are planning a major offensive. They are massing forces in the Broken Moon sector. Their commander is General Krythor, a brilliant strategist who has never lost a campaign. If he succeeds, we lose this war. Vorath's eyes focused on Hana. I am assembling a strike team. The best warriors from each coalition species. Their mission is to infiltrate behind enemy lines and eliminate Krythor. It is a suicide mission. Few will return. I want you on that team. Hana's heart stopped. Why me, sir? Because you see patterns others miss. Because you think like a human, which means you think in ways the Vaxier cannot predict. And because if we are to win this war, we need soldiers who refuse to accept defeat. Vorath leaned forward. You have 3 days to prepare. Choose one other human to accompany you. The rest of the team will meet you at the insertion point. Dismissed. Hana walked out of the office in a daze. A strike team. Behind enemy lines. Against the Vaxier's best general. She should be terrified. Part of her was. But another part, the part that had lined up that impossible shot across Carthus Valley, was already calculating. Already planning. She found Jiho in the barracks, cleaning his equipment. How do you feel about a suicide mission? She asked. Jiho looked up, saw her face, and grinned. When do we leave? The strike team gathered in a secure hangar 3 days later. Hana studied her new companions with careful eyes. 6 warriors from across the coalition, each representing the peak of their species' combat capability. Each one looking at the humans with varying degrees of skepticism. Blademaster Rex stood nearly 3 meters tall, his Chitara exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian. Multiple blade limbs were folded against his body, each one sharp enough to cut through steel. He'd killed over 300 Vaxier in personal combat. He looked at Hana and Jiho like they were prey. Humans, Rex said, his translator rendering his clicks into words dripping with disdain. You do not belong on a mission requiring true warriors. You will die quickly and endanger the rest of us. Before Hana could respond, another human stepped forward. Suri Cho, a demolitions expert from Earth's engineering corps, barely looked old enough to be in the military. Her hands were steady despite her nervous eyes. I volunteered, Suri said quietly. My brother died in a Vaxier raid on our colony. I'm here to make them pay. 17. A being of living crystal approached, light pulsing through her translucent body in waves of color. Sorceress Lith. A luminar psionic specialist who could read bioelectric fields and communicate through pure thought. She didn't speak, but patterns of light flickered across her form. The translator interpreted. The small human carries great pain. Pain makes warriors. Perhaps she belongs. The last member slithered forward on multiple appendages. Tidecaller Morek. A torrent infiltrator whose body could change texture and color to match any environment. He'd operated behind enemy lines for 5 years. His eyes were old and cold. I care not what species you are, Morek said in a voice like flowing water. Can you follow orders? Can you kill when necessary? Can you die quietly? If captured? These are the only questions that matter. Morek Sedin? Krostrin Sevs. Commander Vorath appeared on the central hologram. Your mission is clear. General Krythor commands from Siege Fortress Azrath, a mobile battle station currently positioned in the scorched wastes of the Dracon system. The fortress is shielded against orbital bombardment and protected by 10,000 Vaxier soldiers. Conventional assault would cost too many lives. You will insert via stealth corvette, traverse 40 kilometers of hostile territory, infiltrate the fortress, and eliminate Krythor. Extraction will be provided, if possible. If not, you are authorized to complete the mission by any means necessary. Hana felt her throat go dry. A suicide mission. Vorath hadn't been exaggerating. You depart in 1 hour, Vorath continued. May the deep waters guide you. The hologram flickered out. The team boarded the stealth corvette in silence. The ship was designed for infiltration. All sharp angles and sensor-absorbing materials. The pilot, a luminar named Kale, guided them out of Coalition space, using routes that avoided Vaxier patrols. For 12 hours, they flew in darkness and silence. Then everything went wrong. Contact! Kale shouted from the cockpit. Vaxier patrol detected our energy signature. 3 fighters inbound, Rex snarled. Impossible. This ship is invisible to their sensors. Tell them that, Kale snapped. Alarm screamed. The ship lurched. They're firing, shields failing. I'm taking us down. The crash landing in the scorched wastes was controlled chaos. The corvette hit the ground hard, skidded across rocks, and came to rest on its side. The team crawled out, weapons ready. The ship was destroyed. Smoke poured from the engines. They were 43 kilometers from the fortress, with no extraction and no element of surprise. Move, Morek commanded. Vaxier forces will investigate the crash site. They ran. The scorched wastes lived up to their name. The ground was cracked and blackened, heat shimmering in waves that made distance impossible to judge. The air tasted like metal and ash, and somewhere ahead, 10,000 enemies waited. The first night, they made camp in a ravine shielded from aerial surveillance. Rex stood guard, his blade limbs extended, eyes scanning the darkness. Hana sat with her rifle, checking systems and ammunition. Suri was beside her, hands shaking slightly. You scared? Hana asked, quietly. Terrified, Suri admitted. I'm an engineer. I blow things up from a distance. This is insane. Yeah, it is. Hana offered a small smile. But we're here. Might as well make it count. Lith approached, her crystalline body refracting the faint starlight into fractured rainbows. Patterns of light danced across her surface. The translator struggled to interpret. Curious. Human bioelectric fields, different from other species. You process fear differently. You transform it. Weaponize it. This is unusual. We don't have claws or armor, Hana said. We have stubbornness. It's gotten us pretty far. That night, Morek told them the plan. They would move in darkness, avoiding patrols. Use natural terrain for cover. Lith would mask their biosignatures from Vaxier sensors. Suri would handle any technological barriers. Rex and Hana would provide combat support. Jiho would coordinate and gather intelligence. What about you? Rex asked Morik. I will do what I do best. Disappear. The second day, they encountered their first patrol. Vaxier hunter drones. 4 of them, searching the wastes with thermal sensors. The team scattered into cover. Hana watched through her scope as the drones swept closer. Sensors pinging, searching. One drone locked onto Suri's position. She'd been too slow taking cover. The drone's weapons charged. Hana had maybe 3 seconds before it fired. She took the shot. The railgun round punched through the drone's central processor. It dropped. But the other drones immediately turned toward Hana's position. Rex roared and charged, blade limbs flashing in the harsh sunlight. He bisected one drone in midair. Morik's toxic darts took down another. The 4th drone transmitted an alert before Lith overloaded its circuits with a psionic pulse. Compromised, Morik said, checking his equipment. That alert reached someone. We need to move faster. They ran through the day and into the night. 43 kilometers became 35, then 27. The fortress appeared on the horizon like a metal mountain, shields shimmering in the darkness. Patrols increased. They had to hide twice from Vaxier scout teams. The stress was crushing. Around a shielded campfire that night, exhaustion finally broke their reserve. Rex spoke first. I owe the human sniper an apology. Twice now, your shots have saved lives. This is not luck. This is skill. Among Chitara, skilled warriors earn names through combat. I name you Pack Hunter. You strike from distance but protect the group. Hana nodded, too tired to feel pride. Thank you. Suri was crying quietly. Jiho put an arm around her shoulders. Hey, we're still alive. That counts for something. I keep thinking about my brother, Suri whispered. He was just a kid. The Vaxier didn't care. They killed everyone. Women, children. Everyone. I need to do this. I need them to hurt the way we hurt. Morik regarded her with his ancient eyes. Revenge is a poor motivator. It clouds judgment. But purpose? Purpose keeps you alive. Remember your brother. But fight for those who still live. Thanks for watching. End quote. Lith's lights pulsed in patterns that suggested agreement. Hana found herself speaking without planning to. Earth was ignored for years. When we finally made contact with the Coalition, they called us primitive. Too weak to matter. Said we should stay in our little corner of space and let the real powers handle the big problems. I'm here to prove them wrong. We're not weak. We're not primitive. We're human. And we're done being dismissed. Rex made that grinding sound that meant Chitara laughter. You fight like a pack hunter indeed. Small prey can kill large predators if they work together. Perhaps I understand humans better now. On the 4th day, they reached the fortress perimeter. Siege Fortress. Azrath was massive. A mobile weapons platform the size of a small city. Shields crackled around it in a dome of energy. Guard towers bristled with weapons. Patrols moved in precise patterns. Getting in seemed impossible. Lythe scanned the area with her psionic senses and reported what she found. Psionic dampeners detected. They know Coalition uses psionics. My abilities will be limited inside. Can you get us past the shields? Morek asked. No, but I can hide us from bioscanners while we find another way. Suri studied the fortress through electronic binoculars. There. That water intake system. They need to cool the shield generators. If I can override the filtration system and introduce Morek's toxins into the water supply, we can create a gap in their patrols. Morek nodded approval. You think like an infiltrator, small human. They moved at dusk. Suri and Morek worked together, the engineer's technical skill combining with the infiltrator's poisons. Guards at one section of the perimeter suddenly became ill. Not dead, just sick enough to need replacement. In the confusion of rotating patrol teams, the strike team slipped through. Inside, the fortress was a maze of corridors and chambers. Vaxier soldiers were everywhere. The team split. Suri and Morik would plant explosive charges at key structural points. Rex, Hana, Jiho, and Lyth would hunt for Krythor. They moved through the command sector like ghosts. When they encountered guards, Rex would strike first, his blade limbs flashing too fast to follow. Hana provided covering fire. Her shots precise and deadly. Not the spine, the joints. Not the heart, the weapon systems. She didn't kill unless necessary. She disabled. Efficient, clean, Rex noticed. You could kill them easily. Why don't you? Dead enemies are just dead. Wounded enemies need help. Wounded enemies slow down their friends. Rex looked at her with something approaching respect. You think like a strategist, not just a warrior. They found Krythor's war room after an hour of searching. The door was sealed, heavily guarded. Rex and Hana prepared to assault the position. Then the guards simply opened the door and stepped aside. It was a trap. The team rushed inside. The door sealed behind them with a magnetic clang. Gas hissed from vents in the ceiling. Hana's suit sensors screamed warnings. Neurotoxin. Lethal to humans in under 90 seconds. Hana, your suit's compromised, Jiho yelled. His own suit was intact, but hers had been damaged during the drone fight days ago. The gas was getting in. She felt her vision start to blur. Her muscles began to spasm. 60 seconds. Maybe less. Rex grabbed her, his armored body immune to the toxin. Hold your breath, Pack Hunter. He used his emergency air supply, creating a bubble of breathable atmosphere around Hana's head. Then, he turned to the sealed door and roared. His blade limbs struck the metal again and again. Sparks flew. Alarm klaxons sounded. Fool human, Rex snarled as he hammered at the door. Always getting into trouble. Always needing rescue. The door buckled, then shattered. They fought their way out, Rex carrying Hana as she provided covering fire with fading strength. Her shots were still perfect. Even dying, her hands were steady, the muscle memory of 10,000 hours of practice overriding pain and fear. Jiho's voice crackled in her ear. Hana, I found him. Krythor. Top spire. But there's a problem. Through the haze of toxin and adrenaline, Hana managed to speak. He has hostages, human hostages, from the outer colonies. He's waiting for us, and he knows we're here. The neurotoxin coursed through Hana's blood like fire. Her vision swam, her muscles twitched, but the emergency treatment Rex had administered kept her conscious. Barely. They moved through the fortress corridors toward the command spire, leaving a trail of unconscious Vaxier guards behind them. Hana leaned heavily on Jiho, her rifle clutched in trembling hands. Report, she managed to say through gritted teeth. Jiho pulled up holographic data on his tactical display. Krythor is in the observation deck at the top of the main spire. Clear line of sight to the entire battlefield. He's broadcasting on all coalition frequencies. He wants us to know exactly where he is. Why? Rex demanded, his blade limbs stained with Vaxier blood. Lyth's crystalline body pulsed with agitated light. Psychological warfare. He knows we're here. He's controlling the engagement. They reached a maintenance shaft that offered a view of the spire's observation deck. Jiho set up his spotting equipment, while Hana collapsed against the wall, fighting to focus. Through the transparent sections of the spire, she could see him, General Krythor, tall, heavily armored, his reptilian features sharp and intelligent, and around him, clustered in a tight group, 23 humans. Men, women, children, prisoners from the outer colony raids. They looked terrified, malnourished, broken. One of them was a little girl, maybe 6 years old, clutching a torn stuffed animal. Krythor's voice boomed through every speaker in the fortress, transmitted on open channels for all coalition forces to hear. Attention, Coalition Strike Team. I know you're here. I know your mission. And I know that humans value individual lives above tactical necessity. So here is my offer. Send your assassin. Let's see if humans can make hard choices. Will you kill me and doom these innocents? Or will you let them live and allow me to launch my offensive tomorrow? Choose. 2. The team gathered in the maintenance shaft. Suri arrived with Morek, their demolition charges planted and ready. Everyone looked at Hana. She was the sniper. This was her decision. Can you breach the observation deck? Hana asked Suri, her words slurred from the toxin. Yes, but everyone inside dies. The explosive decompression alone would kill the hostages. Even if we use precision charges, Krythor's guards would execute them the moment we attack. Morek's expression was cold. 23 lives versus thousands. The tactical choice is clear. We complete the mission. No, Hana said. There has to be another way. Rex crouched beside her. Pack Hunter. I have fought for many years. Sometimes there is no clean answer. Sometimes warriors must sacrifice for victory. Not this time. Hana pulled herself upright, swaying. Jiho. Give me the numbers. Distance to target. Environmental factors. Everything. Jiho looked at her like she was insane. Hana. You can barely stand. You're poisoned. Your hands are shaking. You can't possibly. Numbers. Now. Jiho sighed and began feeding her data. Distance. 1,847 meters. Wind variable. Between 8 and 12 kilometers per hour. The observation deck is reinforced glass steel. Designed to withstand small arms fire. Angle of approach is 17 degrees from our position. Target is surrounded by hostages. Margin for error is essentially 0. Hana closed her eyes, letting the numbers flow through her mind. Her training, her instincts, all the hours on the range, all the impossible shots she'd made, the calculations formed like crystal patterns in her thoughts. There was a shot. Maybe. If everything went perfect. If the wind held. If her hands stopped shaking. If she could overcome the toxin long enough to take it. 23% chance of success. Those are terrible odds, Jiho whispered. Hana smiled weakly. Then I'll take the shot twice, if I miss the first time. You won't get a second shot, Morek said. Krythor's guards will execute the hostages immediately. Then I won't miss. Lith approached, her body pulsing with bright light. I can help. Psionic amplification. I can stabilize your neural patterns. Compensate for the toxin. But it will drain both of us. If you miss, we both likely die. Hana met the Luminar's glowing eyes. Are you willing to take that risk? Patterns of light flickered across Lith's surface. The translator interpreted. You risked your life to save the demolitions expert. Rex gave you his air supply when you were dying. Humans teach us something. That individual lives matter. That sacrifice means something. Yes. I will help you. They moved to an antenna array 200 meters from the spire. It was exposed. Dangerous. But it offered the clearest line of sight. Suri rigged the explosive charges with remote detonators. If Hana failed, they would destroy the spire. Everyone inside would die. It wasn't a good option. It was just the only other option. Hana set up her rifle, her hands shaking so badly she could barely attach the stabilizers. Jiho helped her. His own hands steady, despite the fear in his eyes. Rex and Morek took defensive positions, ready to hold off any Vaxir soldiers who discovered them. You don't have to do this, Jiho said quietly. No one would blame you for taking the sure shot. Krythor dies. The offensive is stopped. We complete the mission, and 23 people die, Hana said, including that little girl. I can't do that, Jiho. I won't. You might die trying to save them. Better than living knowing I didn't try. Lith settled beside Hana, her crystalline body beginning to glow brighter. I'm ready. This will feel strange. Your thoughts will become clearer, faster, but maintain focus. If your mind wanders, we both suffer. Quote, "We both suffer." Hana nodded and pressed her eye to the scope. Through the magnification, she could see everything. Krythor standing near the observation window, confident, smug. The hostages huddled together, guards positioned around the room. And the little girl, clutching her stuffed animal, tears streaming down her face. Lythe's consciousness touched Hana's mind. It felt like diving into cool water. Like suddenly seeing colors she'd never known existed. The shaking in her hands stopped. The pain from the toxin faded to background noise. Her thoughts became sharp, clear, precise. Jiho fed her the data. Wind speed, atmospheric pressure, glass steel refraction index, Krythor's position relative to the hostages, the Vaxier general's anatomy, the location of his neural stem, the weak point that would mean instant death if struck. But Krythor was smart. He kept moving, always keeping hostages between himself and potential firing positions, using the little girl as a human shield, taunting them over the open channels. Are you there, Coalition assassins? Are you calculating? Are you debating? This is why humanity will lose. You care too much. The Vaxier Empire knows that strength comes from sacrifice. We sacrifice the weak to preserve the strong. You try to save everyone and end up saving no one. Hana breathed slowly. Her heartbeat steady despite the toxin, despite the fear, despite everything. She watched Krythor move, analyzed his patterns. He was confident, but confidence made people predictable. He gestured when he spoke, used his hands to emphasize points. And when he gestured, he moved slightly away from the hostages. 3 seconds. That's how long his pattern took. He would move the little girl aside, gesture at the displays showing coalition forces, and then return her to his side. 3 seconds. 1 shot. Jiho, Hana whispered. On my mark, you tell me the exact wind speed. No estimates. Exact. Roger. Hana slowed her breathing even more. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The world narrowed to the scope, to the target, to the moment. Lythe's presence in her mind was like having a second brain, calculating trajectories and probabilities at impossible speeds. Krythor began his pattern again. Moving the child. Beginning to gesture. Now, Jiho. Wind speed 8.3 kilometers per hour. West by northwest. Pressure steady. No atmospheric turbulence detected. Hana adjusted, compensated. Her finger touched the trigger. The rifle felt like part of her body, an extension of her will. Krythor's hand swept toward the displays. The little girl was clear. 3 seconds. 2. Hana whispered a prayer in Korean, the same words her grandmother had taught her as a child. Words about courage and hope and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Her grandmother had survived a war, had hidden children from soldiers, had refused to surrender even when everything seemed lost. For grandmother, Hana whispered. For Earth. For everyone who was told they were too weak to matter. 1 second. She fired. The railgun round screamed across 1,847 meters in less than 2 seconds. It struck the reinforced glass steel at exactly the calculated angle. The glass steel had been designed to withstand direct impacts, but not impacts at that specific angle, at that specific velocity, with that specific ammunition composition. The round punched through. The glass steel fractured but held, fragmenting along designed stress points that dispersed the energy non-lethally. The primary penetrator, now smaller but still supersonic, continued on its path. Krythor saw it coming. His eyes widened. He tried to move. Too slow. The round struck his neural stem exactly where Vaxier anatomy placed it, at the base of the skull where spine met brain. Instant shutdown of all motor functions. Instant death. General Krythor collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. The observation deck erupted in chaos. Guards turned toward the windows. The hostages screamed and scattered. But they were alive. All. 23. Including the little girl who clutched her stuffed animal and ran toward the corner, away from the fallen general. Target down, Jiho breathed. Hostages alive. Holy hell, you did it. Hana pulled her eye from the scope, and the world spun. Lith's presence withdrew from her mind, leaving her feeling hollow and exhausted. The Luminar's light had dimmed to barely a flicker. Thank you, Hana whispered. Lith's weak light patterns suggested approval. You showed me. Humans are stronger than bodies. Stronger than weapons. Will. That is your strength. Rex was already moving. Suri. Blow the charges. Create chaos. Morik. With me. We extract those hostages now. The fortress shook as the demolition charges detonated. Not enough to destroy the entire structure, but enough to cripple shields and communications. Alarms screamed. Vaxir soldiers ran in all directions, confused, leaderless. Their general was dead. Their command structure was collapsing. The strike team fought their way to the observation deck. Rex carved through guards like they were paper. Morek's toxins dropped anyone who tried to rally resistance. Hana provided covering fire. Each shot placed with precision, even though her vision was fading. They reached the hostages. The people were terrified, barely able to comprehend what was happening. Suri spoke to them in gentle tones, explaining they were coalition forces, explaining they were saved. The little girl ran to Hana, wrapping small arms around her leg. You saved us. The bad man said no one would come. But you came. One. Hana knelt down, ignoring the pain screaming through her body. What's your name? Aaron. Hi, Aaron. I'm Hana. We're going home now. All of us. Coalition forces arrived 30 minutes later, exploiting the chaos of Krythor's death. The Vaxir defensive perimeter collapsed. The fortress was secured. The hostages were evacuated on medical ships. The strike team was extracted, battered, and exhausted but alive. All of them. As the transport ship left the scorched wastes behind, Hana stared out the viewport at the stars. Lith was in medical care, recovering from the psionic strain. Rex was being treated for multiple wounds. Suri was crying with relief. Morek was silent, contemplative. Jiho sat beside Hana, equally quiet. You know what they're going to say? Jiho finally spoke. They're going to call you a hero. They're going to make speeches about the shot, about saving the hostages, about defeating Krythor. I don't care about any of that, Hana said. I just wanted everyone to come home. Well, you got your wish. Against all odds, we all made it. Hana touched the window, her reflection looking back at her. She looked different. Older. Tired. Changed. The war isn't over, she said quietly. No. But we won today. That has to count for something. Far behind them, coalition forces were already analyzing the intelligence recovered from Fortress Azrath. Krythor's death had thrown the Vaxir offensive into chaos. But the war would continue. New generals would rise. New battles would be fought. But something had changed. Humans had proven themselves. Not just as snipers or soldiers, but as warriors who would risk everything to save innocents, who would take impossible shots because the alternative was unacceptable, who refused to sacrifice lives for tactical convenience. The galaxy was learning what it meant to fight alongside humans, and the Vaxir Empire was learning what it meant to fight against them, one shot at a time. 6 months passed. The war continued, but everything was different. Captain Hana Lee stood in the briefing room of Coalition Command Station Meridian, watching holographic displays track fleet movements across a dozen star systems. The Vaxir Empire was fractured now, split into competing warlord factions after Krythor's death. Coalition forces had reclaimed 4 systems. The tide was turning, slowly, painfully, but turning nonetheless. Captain Lee. Your assessment? Supreme Commander Vorath asked from his position at the center of the command chamber. Hana studied the tactical map. The Vaxir are adapting. They've stopped using tight formations. They're spreading out, making themselves harder to hit with precision strikes. But spreading out means they're weaker at any given point. We can exploit that with rapid response teams. Hit them hard at their weakest positions. Force them to either concentrate and become vulnerable to snipers, or stay spread and lose ground. War Master Threx clicked his mandibles in what Hana now recognized as approval. Sound analysis. I will implement these tactics in the northern sectors. 6 months ago, Threx would have dismissed her words without consideration. Now he requested her input in strategic planning sessions. The change was remarkable. And not just with Threx. Across the coalition, attitudes toward humans had shifted. They were no longer the weak species to be protected or dismissed. They were soldiers, warriors, equals. The briefing ended. Hana walked through the corridors of Meridian Station, returning salutes from Chitara warriors, nods of respect from Luminar psionics, greetings from Torrent infiltrators. She commanded a multi-species sniper division now. 60 soldiers from across the coalition, all trained in long-range precision combat, all willing to follow a human captain. It was strange. All of it. In her quarters, Hana found a datapad waiting. New messages. She scrolled through them. Reports from her division, intelligence briefs, tactical updates, and one personal message from a girl named Aaron. Dear Captain Hana. The message began in careful handwriting. I'm back on Earth now. The doctors say I'm healthy. My mom cries every time she looks at me, but they're happy tears. I told everyone at school about you, about how you saved us, about how you didn't give up even when it was scary. My teacher asked me to write an essay about heroes. I wrote about you. Thank you for coming for us. Thank you for not leaving us behind. Your friend. Hana felt her throat tighten. She saved the message carefully, adding it to a folder that contained 22 others. One from each hostage. They wrote to her regularly, telling her about their lives, their recovery, their families, reminding her why the war mattered, why every mission counted. She heard a knock at her door. Come in. Jiho entered, carrying 2 cups of terrible station coffee. He'd been promoted to lieutenant, her second in command permanently. He refused to take any other assignment. Figured you could use this. You figured right. She took the coffee gratefully. What's the word from intelligence? Jiho's expression darkened. New Vaxir warlord is rising. Calls himself Overlord Thax. He's rallying the scattered forces, adapting tactics specifically to counter coalition strategies. Intelligence says he's studied our operations. He knows about human tactics. He's preparing counters. Of course he is. They're not stupid. There's more. Jiho pulled up a holographic display. Vorath is organizing a deep reconnaissance mission into Vaxir home territory. He wants accurate intelligence on Thax's forces, positions, and capabilities. It's voluntary. High risk. Probably no extraction if things go wrong. Hana sipped her coffee, thinking. He asked for me, didn't he? He asked for you specifically. Said this mission needs someone who sees patterns others miss. Someone who thinks differently. Someone who refuses to quit. When do I leave? Hana. You don't have to volunteer for every suicide mission. You've done enough. More than enough. Let someone else take this one. She looked at him with steady eyes. 6 months ago, I was assigned to guard supply depots because everyone thought humans were too weak for real combat. Now the Supreme Commander personally requests me for critical missions. I didn't earn that respect by playing it safe. I earned it by doing what needed to be done. Jiho sighed. You're impossible. You know that? Yeah, I've been told. Over the next week, Hana prepared for the mission. She trained with her division, refined tactics, studied everything intelligence had on Overlord Thax. But she also made time for other things. Important things. She visited the medical wing where Lyth was recovering. The Luminar psionic had been in regeneration therapy since the Fortress mission, her crystalline structure damaged from the extreme mental effort of linking with Hana's mind. Lyth's lights pulsed weakly but warmly when Hana entered. "Pack Hunter." Lyth's translator rendered her light patterns. "You visit often. This is not necessary. You saved my life. Visiting is the least I can do. We saved each other. This is what warriors do." Lyth's lights shifted to curious patterns. "I have been thinking about humans. About what I felt when we linked minds. You carry such pain, such fear. But you transform it. Use it. I wrote a paper for the Luminar Science Council about human consciousness, about your potential. They were resistant at first. Now they want to study human cognition, to learn from it. Is that good or bad? Both. Understanding creates connection. But humans are unique. Your adaptability, your creativity, your refusal to accept defeat. These are not just survival traits. They are the foundation of something new. Something the galaxy has not seen before. Hana didn't know what to say to that. She thanked Lyth and left, contemplating the Luminar's words. She found Rex in the training center, teaching young Chitara warriors. He saw her and gestured for a break. The warriors bowed respectfully to Hana as she approached. That was new too. Chitara bowing to a human. "Pack Hunter." Rex greeted her with the name he'd given her. It had stuck. Other soldiers called her by it now. "I hear you volunteer for another mission into danger. That's what we do, isn't it?" "Indeed." Rex folded his blade limbs. "I have been thinking. The first time we met, I said you did not belong on a mission requiring true warriors. I was wrong. Not just wrong. Blind. You showed me that honor is not just in how one fights, but in what one fights for. I have established a training academy. Chitara and humans learning from each other. Perhaps you will visit when you return? Teach them what it means to be Pack Hunter? I'd be honored." Rex made his grinding laugh sound. "You say honored, but you should say terrified. Young Chitara warriors are aggressive. They will challenge you constantly. Then I'll have to prove myself constantly." Nothing new there. She visited Suri Cho in the engineering labs. The young demolitions expert had become chief engineer for Coalition Research and Development, designing hybrid technologies that combined human innovation with Coalition materials. She was working on a new targeting system when Hana arrived. "Captain." Suri jumped up, nearly knocking over a prototype. "I was hoping you'd come by. I've been developing something for your new mission." She showed Hana a modified rifle scope with enhanced predictive algorithms. It can calculate trajectory adjustments in real time, compensating for environmental variables you haven't even encountered yet. And I added a feature that links with Luminar psionic amplifiers. If you work with another Luminar, like you did with Lyth, this will make the connection more stable. "This is incredible work, Suri." The young engineer blushed. "I'm just trying to help. You saved my life twice. This is the least I can do." She hesitated. "I wanted to tell you something. I'm not angry anymore. About my brother. I mean, I still miss him. I always will. But I'm not fighting for revenge now. I'm fighting to build something better. You taught me that. When you took that impossible shot to save the hostages, you showed me that winning isn't just about destroying the enemy. It's about protecting people, creating a future worth fighting for." Hana hugged her. "Your brother would be proud of who you've become." The days passed quickly. Too quickly. Hana reviewed mission parameters with Vorath. Deep insertion into Vaxir territory. Minimal team. Maximum stealth. Intelligence gathering only. No direct engagement unless necessary. Extract when possible. If not possible, transmit everything you learned and hold out as long as you can. Another suicide mission. But this time, She wasn't proving humans belonged on the front line. This time, she was leading it. The night before departure, Hana sat in the observation deck, watching stars wheel across the void. Earth was out there somewhere. Home. She'd gotten messages from her family, her mother begging her to be safe, her father proud but worried, her younger sister asking when she'd visit. She'd written responses, cheerful messages that avoided mentioning how dangerous her work was, how many close calls she'd had, how many nights she woke up from nightmares about the people she'd killed, the friends she'd lost, the weight of command. Can't sleep? She turned. Major Yuri Nam stood in the doorway. He'd been promoted twice since the war began. Now he served as Coalition Strategic Advisor, one of the highest-ranking humans in the military structure. Just thinking, Hana said. Yuri joined her at the window. About the mission? About everything. 6 months ago, we were joke. Now we're here. Commanding divisions. Advising supreme commanders. Leading critical operations. How did this happen? You happened. That shot at Ridge 7 changed everything. It proved humans could compete with species that have been fighting wars for thousands of years. You opened a door. We all walked through it. It was just one shot. No, it was a statement. It said humans refuse to accept our limitations. We refuse to quit. We refuse to be dismissed. Yuri paused. The war isn't over. Overlord Thax is dangerous, smarter than Krythor, more adaptable. Your mission is going to be hell. I know. But if anyone can do it, you can. You and your team. You've proven that impossible is just another word for difficult. Hana smiled slightly. Is that a pep talk, sir? It's the truth. Yuri looked at her seriously. Come back, Hana. The Coalition needs you. Humanity needs you. That little girl Aaron needs you to keep fighting. Keep proving that humans belong among the stars. The next morning, Hana stood before her assembled division. 60 soldiers from 6 different species, united by training and respect. They'd volunteered for this mission. All of them. Knowing the risks. Choosing to go anyway. She looked at their faces. Humans, Chitara, Luminar, Torrent. Warriors who 6 months ago would never have fought beside each other. Now, they were family. Bound by combat and shared purpose. 6 months ago, Hana began. They said humans didn't belong on the front line. They said we were too weak, too fragile, too primitive. They were wrong. Not because humans are superior. We're not. We're still fragile, still short-lived, still learning how to survive in a galaxy that's bigger and more dangerous than we ever imagined. She paused, meeting their eyes one by one. But we're here. We're standing on this station, preparing to launch a mission into the heart of enemy territory. We're here because we proved that strength isn't just about armor or claws or natural weapons. Strength is about refusing to quit, about adapting when others can't, about fighting not just for survival, but for the belief that every life matters. Every species deserves a chance. Every world deserves protection. Jiho stood beside her, ready. The rest of her team assembled, ready. They sneered at us. My first shot answered them. But that shot wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning. The beginning of humans standing beside the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Not because we're the strongest, but because we're willing to stand and fight when it matters most. She lifted her rifle. So let's show them what humanity really means. Let's show them that we don't just belong on the front line. We'll stand beside anyone who fights for what's right. We'll take impossible shots because someone has to. We'll risk everything because the alternative is accepting defeat. And we never, ever quit. The division saluted as one. Humans, Chitara, Luminar, Torrent, united. The ship launched an hour later, carrying Hana and her team into darkness and danger, into the unknown, into a war that would define humanity's place among the stars for generations to come. Years later, historians would study this era. The turning point, they'd call it. When the Coalition was losing, human arrived. When humans integrated, the balance shifted, not through superior weapons, not through overwhelming numbers, but through something the other species had forgotten during centuries of war: hope, creativity, the absolute refusal to accept defeat. Hana Lee's name would become legend, taught alongside the greatest warriors of every species. Stories about the ghost of Ridge 7, the woman who took impossible shots and made them look easy, the captain who led from the front and never left anyone behind. But those were stories for another time. Right now, Hana Lee was just a soldier. A sniper who saw patterns others missed. A human who refused to quit. A warrior who proved that belonging wasn't given. It was earned, one shot at a time. The war continued. The mission waited. But humanity had found its place among the stars, on the front line where they always belonged.